video on stands later, so if you are curious about that, watch out, it's coming. For today's video, I have my little list here of my top 10 faves. Usually with top 10 lists, you work from your least favorites up to your number one. But I really want to start with my favorites and work my way down to my lesser favorites. So, let's get started. So my number one all-time favorite JoJo's Bizarre Adventure character is Josuke from Part 4. He's my favorite JoJo, and I just love everything about his character. He acts kind of like a delinquent and dresses like one, but he really has this big, big heart and all this kindness and empathy. He has a quick temper, but he also loves so many people and is willing to go out of his way to do the right thing. And obviously a lot of JoJo characters have that quality, but I feel like his softness and his gentleness is his sort of main feature. And I love the goofiness about him being a teenage boy. He cares about fashion and hanging out with his friends. I do think his design is fun and simple with his funny pompadour hair. And I think his stand is such a big part of why I like him. Jotaro says to him that out of all the stands, his is the kindest, or I think if that's the correct translation, it's like the kindest or the gentlest. And I think that says so much about Josuke's personality, being a kind person, having a healing stand, and I just love seeing him interact with all his friends. For my number 2 favorite character would have to be Yoshikage Kira, also from Part 4. He is my favorite villain, and I just think he's so fantastic for Part 4. He's a very simple villain and fits with the scale of the story. He doesn't want world domination or to rule anything. Yoshikage Kira just wants a quiet life and to keep committing murders, but I love that he just wants to keep his life in balance. He has simple wants and simple needs of murder and just existing in his office job. And for a story that is slice of life, I think that fits perfectly. You don't want to have a Dio character in a story about a small town with a bunch of teenagers. I do really like his design, specifically his first one. He looks a lot like David Bowie in his thin white Duke, or just thin Duke phase, and I love David Bowie. And Kira's stand is my favorite stand, I'll let that slip. And I just think their colors and their designs complement each other really well. And I really like how he utilizes his stand in a lot of his battles. And the fact that he also does try to avoid fighting when he can makes him very different than a lot of other JoJo's villains. My third favorite character is Bruno from Part 5. So, not another Part 4 character. I think Bruno is fantastic. He's an amazing leader. He's there for his teammates. I think he has a wonderful design. I love his weird suit. The zippers on his suit that match his stand. Also very complimentary as the stand user and the stand. His fight with Prosciutto is one of my favorite fights in all of JoJo's. Bruno displays a lot of cleverness and leadership and ability to be there for his teammates, and I don't know, I just think that's really great. I think and his sort of growth as a character is interesting as well. Part 5 is more about Giorno, but so much of Giorno's story could never happen if it weren't for Bruno. Have my notes in this little sketchbook here, just full of doodles. So, my fourth favorite character is Joseph Joestar, specifically Part 2 Joseph, though he's very, very fun in Part 3 as well. Part 2 Joseph is just so full of energy. He's so cocky and brash. He's clever too, but his plans aren't always executed perfectly. He kind of stumbles around at times and has a lot of bravado to make up for his shortcomings. It's very interesting to see how he grows from being that loud, crazy Part 2 character into who he is in Part 3. He is still kind of wild, but definitely toned down since he has a family and he's older. Can't remember exactly how old he is, but I believe it's his late 60s, early 70s, even though he's still a buff grandpa. I like seeing him learn the Ripple in Part 2 and having to work alongside Caesar and eventually kind of respect him as well, and then continue his journey after Caesar. Seeing him grow from being someone very immature into living into his sort of destiny is very interesting as a character. Daphne just has so many fun and crazy lines. So, my fifth favorite character is Jolene. Jolene is the only female JoJo and only female main character that has her own part. I love her so much. She's very different from a lot of female characters Araki had written previously, since he kinda didn't do a great job writing women for the most part. He does say that Jolene is to make up for what he looks at as his sort of earlier failure in creating a female shonen protagonist with, is it Gorgeous Irene? Beautiful Irene? One of his earlier manga that predates JoJo's. I love Jolene because she is also very similar to Joseph. She's loud, she's cocky, but she also has this really strong determination and strong drive. She's a relentless fighter, and she starts off being very cynical and not caring that much, but after the events of Part 6, really grows to actually feel a lot of love for Jotaro, since originally she feels very abandoned and unloved by him. She's also kind of a regular teenage girl too, and has her teenage girl worries and her teenage girl attitude. She has an amazing design as well, and I think her stand is very interesting. I love seeing the friendship she grows with Hermes, how she interacts with Weather Report, how she interacts with the Foo Fighters. That cast is a very different and interesting one, and so seeing how she relates and cares to all of them underneath all of her prickly, sort of rough exterior is really interesting as well. I know a lot of people don't really like Part 6 since it ends in the resetting of the JoJo's universe, which I don't think is necessarily a big spoiler, as most people know that Part 7 and Part 8 are like kind of works of earlier parts. Oh, and I'll also throw out there, I haven't included any Part 8 characters on this list because I haven't read it yet. I like to binge JoJo's, and so since it's still running and being serialized, I think I want to wait till it's done before I give it a go. But a lot of people do love JoJolion, and I know they really love the female main character, Yasuo, a lot as well. Sorry, just looking looking at my notes, but yeah, Jolene is fantastic. She's very violent. She'll do anything to win, and she'll never really compromise. And I just think she's very strong and ferocious, and I love seeing that in a female main character. And I hope Araki, if he continues to make more parts after 8, hopefully has another female JoJo again someday. So my 6th favorite JoJo character is Jiro, however you want to pronounce it. A lot of people I've talked to have said it differently, but I'm pretty sure it's Jiro, so I'm going to continue saying his name that way. He is an amazing character, and part 7 is just an amazing part overall. His character, in contrast with Johnny, and the friendship and companionship they form over their journey, is such an amazing part of JoJo's. A lot of people cite part 7 as being one of their favorites, because it does have a pretty great story, and just that great bond. The earlier Zeppeli characters aren't really as compelling as Jiro. While Caesar is fun, his story's cut very short, and we don't learn that much about him, and his and Joseph's relationship is pretty much just kind of hating each other and being mean to each other for most of it. Seeing Jiro and Johnny grow, and seeing where he starts from, just, I don't know, it's so compelling. I love a lot of the quirky things about him, that he has his teddy bear that he loves, that he has all these goofy puns, his pizza mozzarella song, his very jokey personality, but combining that with his very serious motivation for why he's in the race is just great contrast. The fact that he's an executioner, training executioner, or I believe, no, he is a full executioner, because the whole reason he joins the race is because he wants to pardon this young boy who's been wrongly put to trial, and that is his motivation. So, this very serious beginning to his character, combined with this jokey personality, I love that so much. He has a really great design, I think, as well. Looks very Western, very cowboy. Fits that part very well. I love his power, the spin, being a great rework of the idea of Hamon / the Ripple. I love seeing how he becomes a master and a teacher to Johnny, how he guides him through learning that. I love seeing his fights. He has a lot of great fights, and he's just a fantastic character. I think if you haven't given part 7 a chance, you should, and I think you'll enjoy him as much as I have. My 7th favorite character is Kakyoin from part 3. A lot of people love part 3, but I don't think they're necessarily as attached to the characters. I've seen a lot of criticism that Kakyoin's kind of a boring character, or that he doesn't have a lot of character growth or backstory. It is true that his character story gets shoehorned in right at the end when he's about to die, but upon like a second reading or rewatch if you like the anime, keeping that in mind, it's special to see him grow this companionship with his comrades on this journey, to see him for the first time make genuine friends. I love his stand, and I think he has some great fights as well. He has a simple but fun design with his little earrings. He has some hilarious parts, and his battle and section with Death 13 I think is really cool and really fun, and one of the more special and interesting stand battles or stand users they fight in part 3. He is also very fun to play in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Heritage to the Future. He's a little tricky, or was tricky for me to learn at first, since great at fighting games, but he's super fun in that. And just all his interactions with Polnareff are really great too, since they have some good jokes together, and he has some good jokes with Avdol as well. So I think I said earlier there wouldn't be any more Part 4 characters on this list, but I do have one more. My 8th favorite is Rohan. Rohan is such a weird character. He's so serious, but a lot of the things he does are just so wild and manic. Letting his whole house burn down to prove a point. His weird mannerisms. He's just very, very interesting. I love all the spin-offs he has, and I love seeing his interactions with Josuke, since they hate each other so much and are these opposite sort of characters. There are some really great Rohan OVAs that came out a little while back of his own little spin-offs. I can't remember if they're based off a light novel or his own extra manga, but those OVAs are really funny. You learn that, I'm not remembering it 100% correctly, but Rohan bought like all these mountains or this estate, and he's now broke, and he's living with Koichi, which is funny since Koichi's one of the only characters he really actually gets along with and likes in Part 4. His stand is very interesting as well, and I think fits perfectly for a character that's an artist, in the way he uses his stand to benefit himself. So my 9th favorite character is Diego Brando from Part 7. Part 7 is a reimagining of Part 1, and Diego is the stand-in for Dio. And while he's not the main antagonist of Part 7, as Dio was in Part 1, he still plays a really great villain antagonistic character role. He really captures the essence of Dio from Part 1. He has his own goals in mind. He came from poverty and misery, and he will do whatever he needs to do to get where he needs to be. I love seeing evil characters have that kind of strong determination and drive, even if it's not something good. I love his jockey character. He has amazing riding skills, an ability to analyze other riders, and eventually obtains the stand to scary monsters via the Dr. Ferdinand part of the story. Scary Monsters is a Bowie musical reference, and I love Bowie. And I just think it's so goofy that his stand power is just dinosaur. Doesn't really go past dinosaur, being a dinosaur and the extra parts of it, but he turns into a Utah raptor with this crazy kind of Dio pattern, and it's very Jurassic Park and just weird, and I really like that. And even though he's the Dio stand-in, it's interesting to see how he teams up with different characters at different points to get closer towards his goal and what he wants. Part 1 Dio would never team up, I think, given his character. He just has lackeys and underlings, versus Diego will kind of work alongside people. And I just think that's cool. I do have, hilariously enough, a friend got this for me for my birthday a few years ago. An anime body pillow of Diego. The front side is normal version, and the back side is Scary Monsters Diego. Very, very silly, I know. It was kind of a joke gift, so I just bring it out to show JoJo's fans, and they come over and we all have a laugh. And so, for my final favorite JoJo's character. That is Prosciutto from JoJo's Part 5. I think he is a very obviously minor character, but very, very interesting, and I wish we could have had more of him. His stand Grateful Dead is just so interesting. Definitely a favorite of mine. Such a weird stand power, but he utilizes it so effectively and so interestingly in his assassination group. I think he has a very sleek and cool design, and his fight with Bruno is very, very memorable. His interactions with his underling Pesci are also very funny. That fight is just so epic, and even though he got defeated, I think he's just a standout, stand user villain that they fight, and is very, very memorable for me. So, that was my top 10 favorite JoJo's characters. Some of them might seem a little odd, I guess, but that's that. What are your favorite JoJo characters, or do you also share favorites with me? It's fun having this little face-to-face whisper chat time, so I do want to do more things like this. I love getting to share what I'm passionate about with you, and that you enjoy it as well, whether it's JoJo's or manga collections or figure reviews. I love that I can talk to you guys about all those nerdy things. So thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day or evening. Bye-bye.